I never thought the day I'd been working toward for years, the day that symbolized freedom, achievement, and a future I built with my own two hands would turn into the darkest, most haunting memory of my life. My graduation day had started like a dream. The sun was out, my gown was pressed, and my cap sat snug on my head as I glanced at my reflection in the mirror, trying to convince myself I deserved to feel proud. But somewhere deep down, I knew my parents would not be sharing in that pride. They never did. To them, I wasn't their child to be celebrated. I was a constant reminder of what they thought was wasted time and resources, a permanent disappointment. Still, I invited them to the celebration, hoping that maybe, just maybe, the sight of me walking across that stage would melt away years of bitterness between us. The ceremony was filled with applause and cheers from other families, but when I looked toward my parents, their clapping was slow, mechanical, like they were forced to be there. My mother's lips curled slightly, not in a smile but in something almost predatory. My father, stone-faced as always, had that flicker in his eyes I learned to fear when I was younger, the one that meant he was planning something. I brushed it off, told myself I was imagining it, and threw myself into the party afterward. Friends gathered in the backyard. I decorated myself, strings of lights hanging between trees, tables set with snacks, and a playlist humming in the background. Laughter filled the air, and for a while, I could almost forget that my parents were in the corner, whispering to each other in tones that didn't match the occasion. Every time I passed them, I caught snippets of words. Leech, finally, enough. My chest tightened, but I pretended not to notice. I poured drinks for my friends, hugged classmates, and thanked everyone for coming. Then, as the evening stretched on, and the sky turned to that deep shade of blue right before night takes over, my mother approached me with a glass. "You've earned this," she said, her smile thin, almost brittle. I hesitated, but the weight of eyes around me, friends waiting for a toast, made me take it. The glass felt oddly cold in my hand, condensation dripping down my fingers. I lifted it to my lips and took a small sip. The taste was slightly off, metallic, but the noise of celebration drowned my instinct to question it. That's when I noticed my father watching me with a peculiar stillness, like he was waiting for something specific to happen. At first, nothing happened, just the low hum of chatter around me, the clinking of glasses, the soft thump of music. I laughed at something one of my friends said, trying to push away that uneasy feeling crawling at the back of my neck. But then it started, subtle at first, a heaviness in my head, as if the world tilted just slightly off balance, and a strange warmth spreading down my throat into my chest. My vision blurred around the edges, the twinkling party lights smearing into streaks. My body reacted before my mind could process, my hand gripping the nearest chair for stability. I looked toward my parents again, and this time, their expressions weren't just strange, they were expectant. My mother's smile was wider now, but not with joy. It was something sharper, something that sent a jolt of fear through me. My father's eyes stayed fixed, unblinking, on my glass. It hit me then, this wasn't just in my head. Something was wrong. I set the glass down slowly, my fingers trembling. The taste in my mouth had grown bitter, and my stomach churned like I'd swallowed something alive. Around me, my friends were oblivious, too caught up in their own conversations to notice the sudden panic tightening in my chest. I tried to steady my breathing, but my pulse was racing, pounding against my temples. My thoughts spiraled. What was in the drink? How much did I just swallow? And horrifyingly, why would my own parents do this? Memories flickered unbidden. My father calling me a drain on the family when I asked for help with tuition. My mother muttering to relatives about how I take and never give back. The constant reminders that my very existence was somehow an inconvenience to them. And now, those words echoed in my head in sync with the burning sensation in my gut. I staggered toward the kitchen under the pretense of getting more ice, but each step felt heavier than the last. My hands gripped the counter as I fought to keep my knees from buckling. I could feel the sweat forming on my skin, cold despite the summer warmth. I thought about shouting for help, but the shame of making a scene in front of everyone, of confirming the accusations my parents had whispered about me all my life, held me back for a second too long. Then, another wave of dizziness hit, and I realized if I didn't act now, I might not get another chance. I gripped the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles whitened, my breath shallow and erratic. The room felt as though it was slowly tilting on its axis, and the laughter from the backyard began to warp into an echoing, distorted hum. Every sound seemed far away, like I was listening from underwater. I forced myself to focus, scanning the kitchen for anything that could help. My eyes landed on the sink, and without hesitation, I turned on the faucet and cupped my hands under the cold stream, splashing water onto my face in desperate attempts to ground myself. My reflection in the small window above the sink startled me. My pupils were dilated, my skin pale with a sickly sheen of sweat. Panic clawed at my chest, but beneath it, something else was rising, a slow, smoldering anger. They did this on purpose. They came to my celebration, the one day I thought might bridge the gap between us, and they tried to end me. The betrayal was so sharp it felt like it cut into my very bones. I wanted to storm outside, demand answers, scream in their faces for the years of belittlement, and now this unthinkable act. But I wasn't stupid. If they were willing to go this far, they were capable of far worse. I couldn't just confront them in front of everyone. They'd twist it, make me look unstable, maybe even convince my friends that I'd imagined it all. No, if I was going to survive this, I needed to be smarter. My stomach cramped violently, and I barely made it to the trash bin before vomiting. The bitter taste in my mouth confirmed what I already knew. The drink was poisoned. But between gasps for breath, a plan began to form in my mind. I remembered a friend of mine, Lena, who'd studied toxicology and lived only 15 minutes away. If I could just get to her, she could help me figure out what was in my system and maybe save my life. The problem was, I had to get out without drawing attention, without my parents realizing I knew. I rinsed my mouth at the sink, steadied my shaking hands, and forced my face into something resembling calm. Then I grabbed my phone and slipped it into my pocket, inching toward the back door. Each step was deliberate, my ears straining for any sign that my parents were following. My pulse was a drumbeat in my skull as I stepped onto the side path of the house, the sounds of the party fading behind me. I didn't dare look back. The moment I stepped beyond the reach of the backyard lights, the night air hit me like a slap, cool and heavy with the scent of damp grass and summer soil. My body screamed at me to slow down, but I knew that stopping could mean the end. I forced my legs to keep moving, each step a battle against the dizziness that kept threatening to pull me down. My phone felt like a lifeline in my pocket, and with trembling fingers, I pulled it out, scrolling for Lena's number. The screen swam in and out of focus, my vision flickering like a faulty bulb, but I managed to press call. She picked up after the first ring, her voice cheerful at first, then quickly concerned as she heard the strain in mine. "Don't hang up," I rasped, my words slurring slightly. "I think I've been poisoned. 15 minutes. Please be ready." There was a pause on the line, then the sharp sound of her car keys jingling. "Stay on the phone with me," she ordered, her tone switching to that no-nonsense edge I remembered from our study sessions. I moved faster, hugging the side fence, until I reached the street, the faint hum of crickets in the distance replacing the muffled music of the party. Just as I rounded the corner, I heard a set of footsteps that didn't belong to me. They were too heavy, too deliberate, closing the gap with each step. My heart lurched into my throat. I didn't need to turn around to know. My father's gait was distinctive, the sound of his shoes against pavement ingrained in my memory from years of pacing outside my room after arguments. I clutched the phone tighter, trying to keep my breathing even. "They know I left," I whispered to Lena, my voice shaking. "He's following me." Her response was urgent. "Find light, find people, don't stop moving." My legs burned, the muscles screaming for rest, but adrenaline was forcing me forward. The quiet street felt suddenly sinister, every shadow stretching too far, every dark window a potential witness to something unspeakable. Behind me, the footsteps quickened. I broke into a shaky run, the world swaying violently, my lungs aching for air. The streetlights ahead blurred into halos, but they were the only thing pulling me onward. If I could make it to the main road, I might have a chance. Then I heard my father's voice, low and cold, cutting through the night like a blade. "You shouldn't have walked away." The sound of his voice sliced through me, igniting a surge of fear so intense it nearly robbed me of my footing. My body wanted to freeze, to curl inward and disappear, but the primal will to survive shoved me forward. I didn't look back, not yet. My breath came in ragged pulls, every inhale burning my throat, every exhale carrying the metallic temps of the poison still swirling inside me. The sidewalk beneath my feet felt unstable, as if it might crumble away at any second, but I spotted the faint glow of a bus stop shelter up ahead. The flickering fluorescent light buzzing in the otherwise empty stretch of road. I aimed for it like a moth to a flame. Just as I reached the edge of its weak circle of light, I stopped and turned. My father was only a few yards behind, his face partially hidden in the shadows, but I could see the set of his jaw, the predatory calm in his movements. He didn't run. He didn't need to. He knew the poison would finish what he started. Why? I demanded, my voice breaking between the syllables. My question wasn't born of confusion. I already knew why, but of the raw need to hear him say it, to make the betrayal real in the air between us. He stepped closer, slow and deliberate, his eyes locked on mine like a hunter sizing up wounded prey. "You've taken from us long enough," he said, the words laced with a venom colder than whatever was in my drink. "We gave you life, and you repaid us by draining ours." The calm certainty in his tone sent chills up my spine, more than any shouted rage could have. My vision swam again, the world narrowing until only his silhouette remained clear. I stumbled back into the shelter, my hand closing around a discarded metal thermos on the bench. My grip was weak, but desperation gave me strength. "I am not your leech," I spat, and in one motion, I hurled the thermos at his head. It struck him just above the temple with a dull thud, and he staggered, not expecting the sudden burst of fight from me. I didn't wait to see how badly it hurt him. I bolted, cutting through the empty lot behind the bus stop, toward the main road. The sound of his footsteps returned, heavier now, angrier, and I realized the chase wasn't over. Every step I took sent waves of nausea through me, but in that moment, the poison in my veins and the danger at my back fused into one thing, a clock that was running out fast. The lot opened up to the main road, its wide stretch illuminated by passing headlights, each car a fleeting glimpse of safety that sped by without slowing. I stumbled onto the shoulder, my chest heaving, vision flashing white at the edges, but I kept moving, every muscle screaming in rebellion. Lena's voice was still faintly in my ear, my phone clutched in a death gripper, instructions sharp, relentless. 2 more blocks. Stay with me." I tried to answer, but my words came out in slurred fragments, my tongue heavy and uncooperative. Behind me, the steady pound of my father's footsteps drew closer again, his persistence more terrifying than any burst of speed. He wasn't rushing because he knew I was fading. Every second I stayed on my feet was borrowed time. A car slowed ahead, its brake lights glowing red, and I thought, for one desperate moment, that someone had finally noticed. But before I could wave or call out, the vehicle accelerated and vanished, leaving only the fading roar of its engine. My legs buckled, and I dropped to my knees on the rough asphalt, my palms scraping painfully against it. I heard my father's breathing now, steady and controlled, the sound of someone who had all the time in the world. "It didn't have to be this way," he murmured, almost tenderly, as his shadow fell over me. My fingers fumbled in my pocket until they closed around something small and sharp, my graduation pin, the one I'd worn proudly all day. I didn't think, I just acted. With the last burst of strength in my body, I whipped around and drove the pin into the side of his thigh. He let out a strangled cry and stumbled back, just enough for me to scramble to my feet again. Headlights flared in the distance. Lena's car, weaving slightly as she sped toward me. She was out before the vehicle fully stopped, her hands catching me under the arms, her voice urgent but blurred through the fog in my head. The last thing I remember was her dragging me into the passenger seat and the sudden rush of cool air. As she slammed the door, the world outside dissolving into streaks of light. When I woke again, it was to the antiseptic smell of a hospital room. Lena slumped asleep in a chair beside me, and a police officer at the foot of my bed. His first words shattered whatever fragments of normalcy I had left. "We've arrested your parents. You're lucky to be alive." Lucky, the word echoed in my mind, twisting into something far more complicated than gratitude. I wasn't just alive, I was free. And for the first time, I realized that surviving them wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of theirs being over.